Just give me the kid.
So tell me what you think about being on the train, Mickey.
It's good. On the Grand.
So where are we going to?
Washington, D.C.
Where are we going to Washington, D.C. for?
Go see the Science Museum and stand for the parade.
What's the parade about?
It's about black people.
What are they trying to do?
Hurricane Rita. God is calling. White House, Capitol,
Long live Detroit! Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Y'all have a great one.
Thank you. Congratulations. And I wish you're big.
Okay, be the best. You can be the mayor, whatever else you want to be.
Give her a kiss. Give her a kiss, Samora.
She got the long sleeve.
Let's take a picture right here. Let's take a picture right there. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Let me have the power. Let me have the power. Show me the power. Bless you. Bless you.
Then you had in 1903 finally the war that took place.
We're not worried on with the jumpers on.
All of us came together. Some of us were here with the
Brother.
That's
That's right. That's right. Let me see the flag. That's right.
Oh yeah. Orleans. We gonna forget New Orleans. If you ain't gonna forget New Orleans from the front to the back, let me see you with your head side to side. From the front to the back, let me feel that energy. If you ever been to New Orleans, let me feel that energy. Hey, let's go. It's carnival. It's carnival. It's carnival. New Orleans, the carnival. It's carnival. It's carnival. It's carnival. Everybody, put your hands in the air. 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 Put your hands from the front to the back. Let me see those flags in the air. It's carnival. It's carnival. It's carnival. New Orleans, the carnival. It's carnival. It's carnival. It's carnival. Put your hands in the air. 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 Put your hands. Everybody clap, 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 clap. Raise it there. Hey, New Orleans. Hey, New Orleans. New Orleans. Hey, New Orleans. Hey, New Orleans. Let me see your flag. Wave your flag right now. Wave your hands right now. We say some slang, the world takes our language. Whatever we do, the world stands up and takes account for what we do. Now is the time to put our hand in God's hand and realize, like the old folks used to say, that He is a heart fixer, that He is a mind regulator, He is a burden bearer, He is a heavy load sharer. And when we put our hand in God's hand, we'll transform this world.
We are terrible people. We want to stay terrible people. We want to be that way. We want to keep it safe from gas and oil development. That gas and oil development we're talking about is for 6 months supply of our nation. After that, there would be no terrible.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's not good enough. A round of applause for one of our beauties, ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause. She's represented us in many cities, and I had the good fortune and the privilege to be in Washington, D.C. when she represented us, and she did very well. So for representing us us to the nation's capital. Give her a round of applause. So, Ms. Judge, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm not going to ask you what's your best dish because I think you'll tell me. Pyrex. So give us your full name again.
Shanika George.
And how long have you represented Dominica in this part?
7 years.
And can you tell us the different cities that you actually had an opportunity to visit?
Washington, D.C., New Jersey.
Washington, D.C., New Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, and so on and so forth. Now, what would you expect from the person who would replace you as a result of this evening's contest? What sort of character?
Those two kids wrote this book for other children, and the authors are Samora Dominic Christian and Makanan Leonard Christian. Leonard is now 6 years old. Kimura is now 9 years old. They wrote the book when they were only 8 years and 5 years. Put your hands together for those two Christian kids. Put your hands together for them. Let the people know about it.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, my name is Samora Christian. I am here today to talk about this book, Our Visit to the Island. It will be selling outside also after this event. I'm going to read a few pages of this book, but first I'm going to introduce my brother to you.
Say your name. What's your name?
Please, can you get just a little bit more quiet so the kids can get their voices across? Introduce yourself.
My name is Makonnen Leonard Christian.
Go ahead, come on, read.
Okay, I'm going to start reading pages of the book.
Pages, okay.
Now I'm reading page 4. My name is Samora Dominic Christian. I was born in Cheverly, Prince George's County, Maryland. I live in Upper Marlboro, Maryland with my mom, dad, and younger brother, McConnell. My parents, Joan and Gabriel Christian, gave the middle name Dominic in honor of our island where they were born, Dominica. They called Dominica the most beautiful island in the world. They said it was the nature island of the Caribbean. They always wanted to have a visit there. They always wanted to return. They taught me and my younger brother, McConnell, much about Dominica's culture and history. The Carib people who Christopher Columbus encountered on the island in 1493 called it Tuskegee, which means tall as her body. That name came about because Dominica is very mountainous. School stopped and I was here. Now it was our big travel day, and time to get our backpacks ready. We have been to many places before, but never the Caribbean. We were finally going to Dominica with my parents.
One more page, someone, that's it.
We needed bread, so we went to Roseau with Daddy to buy some bread that night. The city lights in Roseau are not very bright. It was a town of small shops and mainly two-story buildings. McConnell and I went into Reuben's bread shop. There we bought a nice loaf of mastiff and some cakes with coconut shavings. The people at the shop were kind to us. On our return, we had fancy soft drinks and passion fruit juice, along with some rice and peas, the chicken cooked by Auntie Daphne. For dessert, we had mangoes. Oh, how delicious. As the stars came out, the shone brightly and shimmered on the sea in the distance. That night, we went to sleep with crickets surrounding us to sleep and dogs from Maho village barking down the way.
That's enough.
I am a bit disappointed. Dominica's future will be very bright if we can produce kids like this Thank you very much, Amora.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, I'm very happy to be here on December 13th, 2005 with Lieutenant Leroy Andrew Battle, famed Tuskegee Airman, a man of great modesty, but it is said that modesty is the better part of nobility. Is that right, Mr. Battle?
It sounds like it'll fly to me.
Okay. I want to thank you, first of all, sir, for allowing me into your very nice home so we could record a little bit of your history. And I'll just pan over here to Mr. Battle as well. Thank you, ma'am, for having me here in your very nice home and allowing me to record a little bit of our very glorious history. I think it's a history you'll be proud of. And can you give us your name?
My name is Alice Elizabeth Holt Battle.
And how long have you and Mr. Battle been married?
46 years.
God bless your heart. And how any kids?
We have 2 kids. Well, he had 1 child before from first marriage.
Right.
And then he and I have 2 children.
Wonderful.
So
Boy
it's
and girl?
3. Yeah.
Okay, can you give us your names?
The girl is Lisa. Now the oldest boy is Terry.
Okay.
That's his first.
Okay.
And then our daughter is Lisa
Wonderful.
Battle. Lisa Battle Singletary. And then our son is Leroy Battle the third.
Wonderful.
No,
I'm sorry, the second. Leroy Battle second.
Okay.
Because his son is the third.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask him a few questions. Do I have your permission?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll just pop in on you now and again to ask you to straighten out the facts because I know the ladies remember the facts quite well.
that's right.
I forget.
Okay, Mr. Battle, tell me, sir, when were you born?
December 31st, 1921.
And where were you born?
Roosevelt Hospital, Manhattan.
Okay, and your parents?
Mother, where was she born?
No, just give us your names.
Marjorie Battle Smith, and my father was Walter Battle.
What did your father do?
He did several type of jobs, but he ended up running a candy store.
Okay, wonderful. What did your mother do?
She did a lot of work as catering and hairdressing.
Wonderful.
She was hairdressing.
Tell me what early life in the 1920s was like for you in New York City.
Actually, where we lived, 154th Street, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. They had little gangs, like I was in a gang called the Pee-wees, you see. And then that was a group from about 10 on down, 10 or 12 on down. And then they had the other gang, we wanted to follow them, the older gang, you see. They were 15 to about 18 or something like that, you see. And we always would be trailing them, trying to be like them, and I got in so much trouble following them, Like one time, one summer, it was very hot, and we were down by the Harlem River, and the guys were jumping into, the older boys were jumping in the river.
Was the river clean enough to bathe in?
No, it was just soiled as it is now. Harlem River is the same. And but the thing was, in the river, you could look from where we were over and see the Yankee Stadium.
I see.
And so the politicians were talking about building a bridge from there, and they had these big steel piers in the river, and then they got in an argument, I don't know at that time, but who was going to pay for it, but it stopped, you see what I mean? But I'm saying that, but the fellows would jump into the river and would be close to one of these piers, and the older boys did all right in most cases, but time to time one of them would drown because the police boat would come out there with these grappling hooks, and that's the only way they would. And the policeman would be out in front, and he'd draw the hook in, and then one day they had a body, and that hook was in the body, and they.
Oh boy, you saw all that stuff?
I saw all that stuff.
Well, that prepared you for the war that was to come, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Everything is said. Well, anyway, on this particular day, the big boy said, well, we're going swimming. So the pee-wees, we said, well, we'd like to go too. So we had to strip buck naked, you know what I mean? And the big boys started jumping in. And this would be the first time, because I couldn't swim a lick, you know what I mean? And I was about to get in the water. I guess I know I would have killed myself, but at that time somebody said, hey, Boots, your mother. And before I looked, I was buck naked. And mother came, somebody had told, you know, mother came running down there, and she had a long strap, longer than I was tall. and she wheeled my behind, and I went trucking through the streets naked, you know. And I couldn't outrun that strap, you know. And the ladies in the windows were always saying, attaboy, Margie, get him, boy, you know. Because they didn't want their children to go down there, you know.
I understand.
And so, but it was, life there was good because we had Buck and Bubbles lived there on that street, and they would go, they were an entertaining group. I don't know if you know about them.
Mm-hmm. I can't say I do, but.
But they would go, you know, on gigs, and when they came back, they'd go to my father's candy store and get a pocket full of nickels and dimes. And then they'd call us all, and we line on one side of the street, line up, and they have a cock scramble, you see? And they would throw the money over there, then they say, go, and you run over and you pick up what you get is yours, you know? Mm-hmm. And on a good day, man, I'd pick up 50 cents, you know what I mean?
That was big money in those days.
Yeah. Boy.
Mr. Battle, tell me, what elementary school did you attend?
PS 35.
Was that the same as Alexander Hamilton?
No, see, Hamilton was in Brooklyn, but I was in Manhattan now.
Okay.
See what I mean? With the elementary school.
When you left PS 35, where did you go?
See, so from PS 35, I went to Brooklyn to Stephen Decatur Junior High. You see what I mean? I was in. I was able to. I was in the 6th grade there, and went over to Stephen Decatur, and I was in the junior high there.
Okay. And what high school did you attend?
Alexander Hamilton High School.
Okay. What was
boys?
Okay.
See, that was a big thing with Alexander Hamilton for boys. Then they had a boys' high, and it's funny. Boys' high was in a Jewish neighborhood. Most of the Jewish people went there, the students, and we have a big. That was our big rival, you know, in the football game. You know?
Okay.
Alexander Hamilton and Boys High. That was a big thing. And I was in the band, the high school band, and that's where I got great pleasure because we'd parade from the school over to the football stadium about half a mile away, you know.
I know we're running ahead of ourselves here because you're going to tell me about Juilliard down the road, but it seemed that you started in music quite young, Mr. Battle.
Yeah.
When did you start playing? When did you start with music?
In the Boy Scouts. I mean, that's where the Mr. Talbot one day he said all Boy Scouts in excuse me, in Brooklyn, each church, I don't care what denomination, but they had a Boy Scout troop. And then the big thing was on Anniversary Day, which was the second Thursday in June, and it would celebrate the founding of the Sunday school in Brooklyn. And all the areas, white and black, in the white areas they would have the St. John's, usually drum and bugle corps, and then we had I went to Bethany Baptist Church, and we had the Girl Scout band, drum and bugle, and the boys drum and bugle. And then after the parade, we come back to church, and the parents would have ice cream and cake for us. And then we go to Prospect Park. That would be the big thing. Go there to play games and just have a lot of fun.
Now, Mr. Battle, December 7th, 1941, the Empire of Japan bombs Pearl Harbor. Where were you?
Well, I was getting ready for church that morning, and I don't know, somehow everybody in the neighborhood started. You could hear the murmur of the noise outside, and they said that we were under attack and all like that. I remember that.
How did you feel about that?
Well, at that time, I think I was a little frightened, but then nothing. I said, I don't know. There wasn't much bravado at that time,
Were people afraid of the Japanese?
Well, they used to see that in the movie tone, the things that were going on leading up to it in the news, and so you just didn't know, because they would show pictures of the Japanese when they raped. Well, they call it the rape of China, Manchuria.
Rape of Nanking?
Yeah. And they would show those things, you see what I mean? And so, and we were just sort of like late teenagers, so we didn't discuss it like that, but we just thought it was bad what they did, but we couldn't even picture ourselves fighting, you see what I mean?
Did you immediately want to join the Army?
No, because I was working professional down on 52nd Street.
What were you doing?
With the band at the club. See, that was 52nd Street was the mecca of jazz mecca, and the musicians from all over the world would come to play there, because they had about 6 or 7 clubs: the Downbeat, the Three Deuces, the Spotlight, the Onyx Club, and I was, somebody heard me, and I was able to get a gig there, and I was gigging with Stuff Smith, and Don Bias. These were musicians in the jazz field. You see what I mean?
Okay. Were you making good money, sir?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I was making $90 a week.
In those days, that's like what, $5,000 a month?
Yeah, it seems that way, But I was making good money, and I was living a good life, because I was a professional musician, and many girls were around, and
I looked at Miss Holt.
yeah.
Let me ask you, Lieutenant Battle, when did you join the Tuskegee Airmen?
I got what do you call that thing? No. What's that?
Draft?
Draft. I was drafted. And they had to be outside our house on August of 1943. And that's when the bus came around to pick us up. And it took us out to, about 40 of us, out to, there used to be an air base out there in Brooklyn, Long Island, called Camp Upton. And that was a receiving point. Hello?
Come on in.
So you were brought to Camp Upton. Now, what did you know about the Air Force? Was that your intent to join?
No, I just know I was drafted, and I was upset because I was playing. They interrupted my playing.
Business, yes.
Yeah, And just as we were getting off the bus out there, a sergeant came up, a white sergeant came up and said, they're starting a class day after tomorrow down at Tuskegee. And all you want to be black flyers, colored flies, that's what they said. Step over here. And I don't know, I just stepped over there. There were about 4 of us. And he said, you wait, and he told the other group, you just wait here. And he took us to he said, because we got to put you through right away, because the train is going to be taking you in a few hours down to Biloxi, you know.
Was your mother very sad when you left?
Well, she didn't know. I wasn't even able to tell her goodbye, because they would notify her when I was on the train. You see what I mean? You know.
You were not living at home at that time?
Yeah.
You still living at home?
Huh?
Or you living on your own?
Yeah. Oh. I guess she was sad when you mean like when I got the letter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I don't know. She never. You know. I don't recall. Bert was just saying this. She would say, "Be careful." That's all they were saying. You know. There's a lot of mean people out there. That's what, you know.
When you got to Tuskegee, tell us what it was like.
Well, it was like okay. At Upton, I passed all of my what they call psycho tests and colorblind, this type of thing. Then they shipped us. The guy, another sergeant came up and he had my orders, and he had a paper bag lunch for me. See, because we didn't eat there on the base, see, because we had to get right out because the train was leaving. And he said, hang on this with your life, you know, these orders and everything. And so when we got to Tuskegee, that was about, with the train, other trains would let the troop trains through at that time, you understand? So it was almost non-stop, see. And it was about, I guess, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, something. And we arrived at this station. I was the only one on who got off. And they had one light. I remember that light. And I said, boy, that's culture shock, you know? 'Cause
Coming from New York, what did Tuskegee look like to you?
well, it was a strange thing, you see, because I was, okay, well now while I was there at the station, I guess about 20 minutes, I saw headlights come up, and this white sergeant said, he said, are you battle? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, get your black ass in here, you know what I mean? We don't have all night. So that was...
He was a Southerner?
Yeah.
That's how he talked?
Yeah, that's how he...
That was your introduction?
That was my introduction to the South, you know? And so...
The whites at Upton didn't talk like that.
Huh?
The white soldiers at Camp Upton didn't talk that way.
No.
So there was a distinct behavioral difference between white soldiers from the north and white soldiers from the south.
Definitely.
How did white soldiers in the north generally behave compared to those in the south?
Well, I wasn't there too long. The ones I met were like the doctors giving me the...
were they kind?
Psychomotive. Oh, yeah. Well, they were brisk, you know what I mean? Wasn't kind, you know. They were lacking in bedside manner, but they would say, all right, next, you know what I mean, whatever it was, whatever examination you were, you say.
Did you ever see that sergeant again, the one who told you about your behind?
I don't know if I did or not, because I just wasn't focused on that. My mind was back in New York, and I kept thinking, you know what I mean, gee, a day ago I was the toast of New York, you know, jumping on it, and I'm not hearing, what is this? You know, that's what my thinking was, you know.
Now, let me ask you, because as I said, the tape has its limitations. When did you start pilot training?
Oh, well, right there, well, the next, see, you became really a pre-aviation cadet, and then you stayed there for about 3 months, and then you went over to Tuskegee. You see what I mean? They moved you to Tuskegee to the Institute, and there you would take the book work and the compass work and the math and that type of thing, the training, before. He did a lot of training before he saw an airplane.
Did you, at that time when you went to Tuskegee, see the famous Colonel Parrish?
Did I see him? Oh yeah, I saw him, but it didn't mean nothing to me. You understand what I'm saying? He was head of the. No, he wasn't head. Somebody else was. Parrish didn't come in until later.
Okay. Did you see General Davis?
Not until later.
Okay.
Not until later. After I saw General Davis after. See, because General Davis was in Europe at the time.
I see.
With the
99th.
99th and the 332nd. You see, and so we were. I didn't see him until after we mutinied up at Seymour Field in Freeman.
Okay. Oh, 1 second.
Meanwhile, I was there at Tuskegee. See, we were at the Institute. We stayed at the Institute, see, and they had emeries there where we stayed, those red brick buildings. The cadets stayed there. But the college students were there on the campus too, you know. And I remember during the break, we would go to the museum, you know, Dr. Collins Museum, you know, to look, you know, examine. That was really a beautiful thing. But then after we left Tuskegee, we went to gunnery training, Midland Field, with gunnery, you know, air to ground, air to air, and so forth. Then when the class finished that was about 6 weeks or something like that. Then we went to, from gunnery was down at Panama City, that's it, the gunnery. And then we went up to Midland Field, Texas for bombardier and navigation training. See, this is the last thing we would get out. Once we passed that, we get our gold bars and silver wings, you know.
Okay.
See, and then when we get that, then we were officially Tuskegee Airmen. See, then they flew us to Godman Field, Kentucky. That was our base. That's where we had they had the B-25s there. The 477
You want to get that early?
bomb group was there. See. And that was, we did our training, flying, navigating, and bombing training all over there. And then at the time,
A cheesecake?
the war was winding down. See, because this was in 1944 and 45. Fill out pictures, I mean, to put in the envelopes. See?
Oh, like a, okay.
Yeah, it's so that they're not, it doesn't make any difference if there's anything written on it.
Okay. So, Mr. Battle, let me ask you a question about. Irma was just talking about our young people and the need to reach our young people. You're a fighter pilot, but most importantly, you were a teacher and worked for most of your life with young people.
Yeah, well, mainly I was a bombardier navigator,
That's
but
right.
I was ended up in pilot
That's
training at the end of the war.
That's right.
See, so.
Tell me how you think we can help reach our young people who are going astray.
Okay. Okay, look, now I'm in the Speakers Bureau, and I go around and I speak at the elementary, junior, senior, high school, colleges, and churches. Okay, now when I'm at the junior, senior high school, at that level, I stress this thing of wisdom and intelligence, you see. And then I'll ask this question. I say, what boys here know how to make a cake, you know? And so hands would go up. And I said, all right, tell me, how would you do it, you know? So the one boy was, he said, well, I'll pour the milk in first. Then he said, I'll take the flour and put that in. Then I take the butter, stick of butter, put that in. Then I take the cup of sugar and put that in. Then how'd you mix it? He said, well, my mother mixes it by hand. I said, okay. Then I asked the girl, how would you make the cake? Then she'll go and she'll say, I mix the flour, the sugar, all the dry stuff together, Mr. Battle. Then I'll add the milk. And I said, that's what I want to hear. You know what that is? You're intelligent enough to know the ingredients, but it's the wisdom that calls you how to use the ingredients. So when you're learning, learn intelligence with wisdom. They both go together. And so I try to give them,